Duval, what is up? I am out here in absolutely gorgeous Vancouver, Canada. Family vacation. Now, the Jaguars, they might want to go on vacation right now, but they have still got 14 games left in the 2024 season. It's not looking good. It is not looking good in Duval. This is a team that right now, can they hang? Can they compete with some of the mediocre to bottom feeder type of teams in the NFL? Yes. Can they compete with the big dogs, with the top teams? As of right now, it does not look like they can. I think it's more of a coaching issue than it is a talent issue. Although I do think that there's some issues with the talent on the Jaguars. And that's why I kind of wanted to look ahead at the 2025 NFL draft. This is going to be the second mock draft, do a 3-round mock draft here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm assuming the Jaguars are going to move on from their current regime because I'm also assuming that I don't think things are going to get a whole lot better for this team in 2024. Again, difficult road ahead. You've got a lot of really good teams on the schedule. Can they compete with and maybe beat the Colts, the Titans, some of these other teams? Yes. But overall, are they going to be able to take down the Vikings, the Packers, the Jets, the myriad other good teams, the Texans that they have left on their schedule? I have a hard time believing that at this point. So you look at this football team, right now they hold the first overall pick. And there's just no reason to believe right now, really, in the ceiling of this regime or even the floor. The floor is what you're seeing right now. 0-3, absolutely demolished by the Buffalo Bills. Again, with a pretty talented overall roster. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars have a pretty talented roster. They hold the first overall pick right now. 0-3. Coming off what is, in my opinion, the most embarrassing performance in franchise history, because yes, you've had other games, right, that scores were similar throughout this franchise's history. But backs against the wall, must-win game, pretty much as much as you can have a must-win game in week 3. That's what that was, and they came out flat. So, I can't see a path forward right now with this regime. So that's why we get to this 3-round mock draft, and we're going to have plenty of talk about who could be the next coach, general manager, all that good stuff. Right now, Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke are still locked in, but I'm assuming that's going to change because I'm, again, assuming things won't change much during this 2024 campaign from what we've seen so far. So let's go ahead and dive into this 3-round mock draft, the second 3-round mock draft so far for your Jacksonville Jaguars. It's sad that we're doing this, but it's also fun. I'm an absolute draft nut, so I love talking about the draft. Excited to chat about some ideas. These are not set in stone type of things. Like at this point, evaluations on players will change, evaluations on prospects, evaluations on team needs will change before the draft. The Jaguars are going to have over $55 million in cap space, it looks like. They're going to have 10 draft picks. There's going to be a lot of different moving parts. But right now, they hold the first overall pick. Last week, we talked about adding Kelvin Banks. I think it was at 4 overall, the offensive tackle out of Texas, who I think is a good a bet as you have in this draft for an offensive tackle becoming a potential superstar at the position. But today, at number 1 overall, I'm looking at my top trench player in this entire draft right now. That's defensive lineman Mason Graham out of Michigan. Graham, again, my top trench player on either side of the ball right now. He's 6'3", 220. He is incredibly quick off the ball. He's a very dynamic pass rusher with his athleticism and pretty advanced pass rush technique with his hands, his leverage. He's also a very good run defender. I think he's stout, he's physical, he's athletic. He's everything you could look for in a potential star defensive tackle. And he's very consistent for the Michigan Wolverines. And so I think when you look at what he could bring to the Jaguars, alignment versatility up front, and this is a team right now, I know they just drafted Mason Smith in the 2nd round. Right now, they are not competing at a high level in the trenches on the defensive line outside of Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker. They're just not. So I think that, Devon Hamilton, is he what he could have been pre-health issue. Right now, it doesn't look like he quite is that. Mason Smith, you're struggling to even get on the field right now. Roy Robertson-Harris, you're paying him as a starter, but he's really not that for you. Eric Armstead, he's playing more edge right now. I think pairing up, though, a Mason Smith and an Eric Armstead in 2025, you could be cooking with gas if you have Eric Armstead playing in a more natural role, inside three technique, Mason Graham playing next to him, Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen on the edge. That could make a lot of sense in my opinion. So I think that would be a great way to go. Again, I think this is a safe pick, but a pick that also has a high ceiling with his athletic traits and his already fairly advanced game. So I would really like to see Mason Graham to the Jaguars in this situation. And again, not set in stone, not saying this is absolutely what I would do or what the Jaguars should do, but I think that this is a pick that you could get very excited about. And now if you go defensive line at the top of the draft and again, try to upgrade your trenches, which is, I think the trenches are where the Jaguars need the most work. And looking ahead, offensive line, Brandon Sheriff probably moving on. You probably need a new left tackle as well. Mitch Morse is not going to be around forever, although he's playing pretty good football. So you do want to upgrade the offensive line, probably in free agency and the draft. The Jaguars have 10 picks right now in the 2025 NFL draft. Right now, the offensive line class, in my opinion, isn't looking super deep. That could change as things roll forward. You know, we're still fairly early in the college football season, long draft process ahead of us. But I would be good in this scenario when you get your stalwart on the interior of the defensive line early on, trading up for a powerhouse offensive lineman. I think Jonas Savaiinaea, if you're sitting there and he's still there and on the board in the early to mid-20s, and you say, hey, what is the best possible outcome for Jonas Savaiinaea? It's that he can be a powerhouse tackle. Now, I think the worst possible outcome is that he becomes a powerhouse guard. So if you're talking about being able to add that, and you need both of those positions, maybe that's a good move. Maybe it's a good idea to trade up into the early to mid-20s to land a guy like Jonas Savaiinaea, who is absolutely huge. He is a mauler in the run game. I think he has the ability to play tackle at the NFL level. Might he be better overall at guard? Yes, that is a possibility as well. But I think that you're giving yourself a higher ceiling and floor on that offensive line by adding a player like a Jonas Savaiinaea out of Arizona, who's, you know, close to 340 pounds, absolute monster. So now you're really talking about an upgraded offensive line and defensive line with your first two picks. And you probably need to trade your second round pick and one of your third round picks. Again, the Jaguars have 10 picks in the draft. They have multiple thirds, multiple fourths, and multiple sixths. So not going to hurt you too much to trade up to the mid-20s, maybe get a late round pick back in exchange as well. You give up your second and one of your thirds. You also get maybe a sixth round pick back from whoever you trade up with. I really like the potential of doing that. And then with your second, third round pick that you still have, I've been looking at safety a lot because, you know, Andre Sisco's contract situation, he's not playing the best football right now. I think he has much better football in him, but right now it's not looking great. It's not looking great for that Jaguars defense with Ryan Nielsen. You know, felt like just a couple weeks ago people were fired up about this defense, but that has quickly devolved. It's not looking great right now. Could things change? Yeah, they could. I think that you could get more comfortable in this defense, everybody, but right now it's not looking like there necessarily will be a contract negotiated between the Jaguars and Andre Sisco. You know, the new regime, whoever comes in, they probably want to get their own guys. And so I think adding a safety at some point, middle of the draft, could potentially be a starter, makes a lot of sense. And I think Rod Moore out of Michigan, who's currently injured, dealing with the knee, he's expecting to try to get back at some point during the back half of this 2024 campaign for Michigan. He's a free safety type. He's rangy. I think he's very instinctive. He makes a lot of plays on the football. This is the type of guy that if you go get a defensive coordinator who comes from this type of background, Michigan, Baltimore, could make a lot of sense. I think that he sees the game a little bit cleaner than Andre Sisco did coming out. You still see some of those issues with Andre Cisco. And I just think that there's the potential here with a Rod Moore. And there's a lot of safeties we talked about. We talked about the safety out of Notre Dame last week, Watts. So I think that there's a good chance the Jaguars need to go add a safety at some point. Maybe that's in free agency. The safety market overall has been, it's been easy to go add somebody that can make a good impact for your football team in the safety market and free agency. So maybe that's the route they go. But I like the idea of a Rod Moore as well, as long as he's able to get back healthy, go through the pre-draft process, and have a good lead up to the draft. And so that would be your first 3 picks. Getting Mason Graham, a defensive stalwart, defensive lineman who can be stout but also can penetrate into the backfield, be a very balanced player for you. Trading up into the mid-20s to get a Jonas Avenea, who is a powerhouse, whether that's at tackle or guard, 2 positions that you need very much right now. And then again, Rod Moore in the 3rd round. Let me know what you guys think about this. We will have some more content for you coming up. Again, I'm in Vancouver. We're going to be on an Alaskan cruise, so we'll be a little bit more sporadic over the next week and a half from me, but we'll get some content out for you. The Jaguars have the Texans coming up this weekend. We'll talk about that a little bit, talk about the future of this ball club. But I really appreciate y'all's support. I'm going to enjoy my vacation the rest of today, maybe get another video out there for y'all tomorrow. Really appreciate you. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Y'all have a good one.